Hello everyone and welcome to a very nice game from round 7 of this year's Grandchester SuperUnited Croatia tournament. The rapid section, Gukesh, the World Chess Championship challenger, faces the former World Chess Championship challenger, Fabiano Caruana. As you know, Gukesh will face Dean Gliren for the title of World Champion, and Fabi faced Magnus Carlsen in 2018 in London, also for the title of World Classical Champion. Fabi was not successful. We'll see how Gukesh does, and like I said, we will be covering as many interesting Gukesh games as we can up until that point. So let's check it out. Gukesh has the white pieces and he opens with pawn to d4. We have knight f6, pawn to c4, pawn to e6, knight to f3, the anti-Nimzo in not inviting bishop to b4. So pawn to d5, knight to c3, and bishop to b4. The sort of similar to a Nimzo, this is the Ragozin defense. Sorry about that. And the game continues with queen to a4 check. This is the main line, and they will continue for some time in the main line. Two of them are definitely heavyweights, and they don't play obscure lines, especially not against each other. e3, we have castles, bishop to d2, d captures on c4, bishop captures, and bishop to d6. This is the top move. Everyone plays it, and of course, Fabi plays it as well. Queen back to c2, and now pawn to e5. If you can do it, of course, you should do it. So d captures on e5 and knight captures on e5. And there is a game where, well, a couple of games actually, where this exact position has been reached. And there is a famous game where knight captures on e5 was played. Dmitry Andreikin defeated Magnus Carlsen with it in the 2019 World Blitz Championship. But here, and pretty much in all the games this is played. But here we have bishop back to e2 by Gukesh. There are maybe 4 games, 5 in the database where this move was played. And it has been played by Gukesh, who defeated Gabriel Sargsyan in 2022 in the Chess Olympiad. But that game continued with knight captures on f3. However, here Fabi plays pawn to c6. Okay, we have knight to d4, and now rook to e8 is a known move, but here we have queen to e7, and it is now already, as of move 12, that we have a completely new game. Okay, knight to f5, an excellent square for the knight, putting pressure on the queen and inviting the capture. Bishop captures on f5, so you have to give up one of the bishops. So you're either going to lose the dark square bishop or the light square bishop. So bishop captures on f5, we have queen captures on f5, and now rook 8 to d8, putting pressure on that bishop. So you have to be careful if you castle kingside, but Gukesh checks and it's perfectly fine. Castles kingside, there are no good discoveries. Maybe if the knight wasn't here, you could capture and maybe capture the bishop here if you want to give up your such a powerful bishop to win one pawn. So bishop back to c7, putting pressure on the bishop, and rook f to d1. Knight to d3. We reached the position from the thumbnail, and it's a very a nice resource by Fabi, as it seems like you're blundering a piece. So what's the idea? Well, the idea is that the queen is also attacking the knight on d3, but the queen has only one square to do it from f5 on this diagonal. And of course, Fabi will contest the queen with pawn to g6. So okay, bishop captures on d3 and pawn to g6. The queen has to move. We have queen back to f3. You also could play this, but this is covered by the pawn, so you cannot defend the bishop from there. So queen f3 and rook captures on d3. We have queen to e2 attacking the rook, and rook f to d8. Fabi quickly doubles up on the d file. Bishop to e1, offering a trade of rooks, and Fabi goes for it. Rook captures, and knight captures on d1. Also, queen captures is possible, but Gukesh wants to remaneuver the knight, and now pawn to h5. Now, it's not much, but if you look at the position and the situation on the clocks, okay, Gukesh is up on the clock, but Fabi definitely equalized, and now it's a game. If they wish to play it. We have pawn to b3 and knight to d5. Pawn to g3, making the bishop on c7 not such an impressive piece. Bishop to e5, centralizing the bishop. We have knight to b2, preparing to get the knight to d3 or c4, and now bishop back to f6. We have knight to c4, and pawn to b5, knight to a5, attacking the c6 pawn, and queen to c5. We have king to g2 and king to g7, both players improving the position of their kings, pawn to h4, and pawn to a6. We have pawn to e4 attacking the knight, knight to c3 attacking the queen, and queen to c2. And here, pawn to b4, defending on c3 and also attacking the knight, knight back to c4, and now pawn to a5. And here, Gukesh strikes with pawn to a4, and his position is formidable to say the least. It's very hard for Fabi to make a move here. Fabi does play bishop to d4, but just queen to d3. And not a lot of moves for Fabi here. He goes knight to a2, tries maybe some trickery if Gukesh plays an ill-considered move, but Gukesh just plays queen to c2. The real move is knight captures on a5, but it seems Fabi tricked Gukesh a little bit. It's Fabi who's very low on time, and probably Gukesh was also playing on Fabi's time. He didn't want to get into time trouble himself, but the idea is you should capture on a5. Not because the queen will capture and you will take the bishop with check, but it's because you will play bishop to c3. And now bishop captures on c3 with check, queen captures, and now you will avoid the queen trade. And after something like knight to c1 going after the b3 pawn, you will capture on c6, and after knight captures on b3, queen d5. And now, okay, you're preparing a5 to advance the pawn. Your pawn will be faster than the b pawn, and also the knight can easily come to go after the f7 pawn. So this would have been winning for Gukesh. But he played queen to c2. Fabi repeated knight c3, and now he does not go back with queen d3. If queen d3, Gukesh is still winning, but f3, and now the position is again equal. We have knight to d5 by Fabi and bishop to f2. The idea behind this sacrifice is that if you capture it, then comes c captures on d5, and you cannot move the knight. Or rather, you have to. There's nothing better, something like knight e3, and I would just capture bishop captures, queen captures, bishop captures, and Fabi would be up a pawn in an endgame of the bishops of the same color, which is, well, most of the time always winning. So after knight d5, bishop to f2, offering a trade, and knight to b6. We have bishop captures on d4 with a check, queen captures, and finally knight captures on a5. Pawn to c5, and now queen to f2, offering a trade, also putting pressure on the c5 pawn. So queen to c3, and now queen to e2, stopping pawn to c4, but that's exactly what Fabi plays. It is the strongest move, pawn to c4, and now the only way to hold is queen d1. You have to stop the breakthrough here. However, Gukesh played b captures on c4, and Fabi got his way. Knight captures on a4. Pawn to c5, and now knight captures on c5. We have queen to c4, offering a queen trade, and now knight back to d3. We have king to h3, queen to a1. Now the queen trade is no longer an option, the knight is hanging, and also checkmate is being threatened on h1 as the pawn covers the g4 square. So king back to h2, and now queen to b2 with check. Also this knight is hanging, so you have to be mindful of that. King to h1, knight to e5. Attacking the queen, we have queen to f1, also guarding the pawn on f3, and now pawn to b3. Advancing the passed pawn, queen to d1, and now queen to c2, offering a trade. We have queen to d4, declining the trade, and hopefully winning the knight, but Fabi says the knight is no longer a player in this game. Pawn to b2, and he was in this position on move 50 that Gukesh resigned the game, as there is nothing more to be done here. So he had his chance. He was definitely better in a few parts of the game and winning in some of them, but yeah, it's a rapid game, a little time on the clock. Fabi prevailed in this one, and Fabi went into this round as the leader of the tournament, and he maintains as the leader of the tournament. And I mean, it's always the same story. He who pushes the passed pawn will emerge victorious. It's been like that, you know, for the past 400 years. So yeah, very nicely done here. Okay, you can capture the knight. It comes with check. King will move, and there's no defense. b1, rook or queen will be checkmate. There's no way you can stop this. You know, aside from giving up the queen and then trying to fight the queen with the knight, but that's crazy talk. So yeah, that's the game. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Very nicely done by both of them, but it is Fabi who emerges victorious here, as he's the one who pushed the B pawn. I would like to thank Michael Hoff, Lawrence Brazier, Edward Vazo, Kevin O'Grady, and James Eugene Cashman for your contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot. I really appreciate it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you for watching, and I will see you soon, continuing the coverage of this wonderful event. So thank you all. I will see you soon, and have an excellent rest of your day.